I'm Kirsty and welcome to the first video of my 4-part series on energy empowerment for Earth Warriors. So in this first video, I'm going to talk about step number 1 for empowering yourself around energy, which is choosing energy. So I know that as somebody watching, you are driven to make the world a better place. You're driven to create a world that works for all that you want to live in. And if you're like me, you're very driven by what you see happening to the environment and wanting to heal the planet. And I call us Earth Warriors. It's driven from this real heart, soul kind of place. And the thing is, with us Earth Warriors and with other kinds of planet-saving warriors as well, is that we push and we push and we push, and often we give more than we have in terms of our energy, especially when we don't know how to manage our energy. So you might be finding that you don't have the energy to get through the day at work. Maybe you're resorting to things like sugar or coffee to get you through, or you just wish that you were asleep under the desk. Maybe you are snappy at your colleagues. Maybe you get home from work and you don't have the space to deal with your partner. You just need quiet time. You don't feel like you have the energy to do the things that you want in life and have the relationships that you want with your family and your friends. So this issue could be affecting your career, your relationships, and your general well-being. It can affect your health as well. So what I'm going to discuss in this series is how to take back your relationship with your energy, not necessarily to control it, but to feel empowered about it and to feel the way that you want to feel when it comes to energy. And in today's video, like I said, it's the first step of that, which is making that first decision that there is something that you can do about energy and you choose energy. So basically, the level of energy that we have in our body is feedback. So we can just look at it as information, and if it's information, then we have the power to choose what we do with that information and whether we listen to it and rest and restore, or whether we push through and keep going and get more and more exhausted. So the reason that I'm here talking to you and why I've created this series is because I've been through it myself. So I first answered the Earth Warrior call back when I was 17. I felt that, oh my goodness, that bolt of energy, that surge of passion saying, yes, this is what I want to do. I want to save the world in that naive 17-year-old way. And I followed that through to uni and got my environmental degree. And then that was 15 years ago now, and I've been working in the environmental field for 11 years. And for the last more than 8 years, I've been working as an environmental educator. And I found that there was so much that I wanted to do and so much that I wanted to help with, but I just didn't have the tools to manage my energy. So I pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed myself, and I got to this place of complete burnout. So I had physical fatigue, emotionally totally frazzled, quite depressed, mentally didn't have the space to come up with new ideas or do what I felt was a satisfactory job with my work. And spiritually, I was disconnected from that passion, which was a really unnerving and scary thing, really, when you've had this passion driving you for the last 15 years. So what I decided in that experience, though, was very empowering, because I said to myself, I don't want to live like this. I don't want this lack of energy, this burnout, to have control of my life. So I decided that I was going to do what it took to feel the way that I wanted to feel. So I've learnt a lot, and in the process I've actually become an integrative nutrition health coach. So I'm well equipped now to pass along what I've learned and what's helped me through my journey in reclaiming my energy. So the first thing that I want to tell you about today when it comes to how we choose our energy is to get clarity on how you want to feel. So our desires carry their own power. And if you think about it, power is energy. It's momentum. So if you decide, hey, I want to feel like this, then it actually pulls you forward. It pulls you through the tough times, the hard decisions, and you will get to where you want to go. So for me, I decided I want to be radiant and I want to feel vibrant. And that has been very, very motivating for me. So what I mean in terms of getting clarity is to put a word or a phrase around how you want to feel. So how we do that is you can ask yourself, with relation to my energy, how do I want to feel? And that might be a step too far at this stage of the game if you aren't used to thinking through this kind of thing. So you might like to start with a different question, which is, if I had an abundance of energy, what would I do with it? What could I do with an abundance of energy? How would my life look with an abundance of energy? And then we take that a step further and we say, if my life was like this, with this abundance of energy, doing all these things that I want to do, how would that feel? So you'll notice I'm bringing it back to the feelings in both instances. And that is because, as human beings, we are motivated by emotion. So there's a saying actually that emotion is energy in motion. So we want our energy to flow. And the way that we're wired is we can know all the facts, we can have all the information, but that doesn't mean that we'll do anything with it. When we put it into emotion though, when we can feel it in our body, that is when we take action. So for you, I want you to get clarity around how you want to feel as an emotion in your body. Okay, step 2 is to own what you want. So once you've decided how you want to feel, own that. There is nobody else who is responsible for your energy. It is you. It is your job to make your energy the way to create, to fulfill your desires. So why this is important is because if we don't take ownership of how we want to feel, and if we don't decide that we can create the life that we want to create, then we're basically at the whim of, we're at the mercy of the storms of life, and we get buffeted around, and that in itself is extremely exhausting. So if we're trying to hold on, or you get knocked around by the smallest little thing away from where you want to be, that really is exhausting in its own right, and you'd be lucky to end up feeling the way that you want to feel. If you do for a moment feel the way that you want to feel, something else will happen, you'll get knocked off course and you'll be exhausted again. So what I mean by taking ownership is that we stop blaming external circumstances. And this is a really, really hard one. We are stepping up, this is part of being an adult, and we're saying, I take responsibility for my life. And by external things, I mean blaming other people, blaming situations, blaming circumstances. And big ones for me recently have been blaming a lack of money or blaming a lack of time for me feeling or for me not feeling how I want to feel. So basically when I say, oh, I don't have time to do that, I'm so pushed for time, I am fighting for my limitations. How crazy is that? So we start off by being aware that we're doing it and aware of the language that we're using. It takes two to tango, so there will always be external circumstances happening and they will affect your energy, but you also have a role to play. So you can start to take ownership of it, like I said, by being aware. But something that I've found really, really helpful is to have like this mantra playing in my mind: I am not a victim here. I am not a victim here. I am not a victim. Another decision that we can make, which is a bit of a mind bender sometimes, especially when the situation is really rubbish, is to decide that whatever the event is, it is not happening to you, it is happening for you. How could this thing be happening for you? Sometimes we can't see it in the moment and we can only see it in hindsight. But take, for example, my burnout. And that was a terrible thing to go through. There was a lot of depression. But it really happened for me because I was so off track in terms of my life and there was a lot that I needed to learn. I was playing small, so it really was the catalyst for a lot of positive change in my life. So that's just one example. And see if you can come up with your own examples from your past and weigh out whether this rings true for you. So the thing about deciding to take ownership and to take responsibility of your energy is that it is a way of life. It's an ongoing process. It's not an endpoint in itself. So it's basically a day-to-day, minute-by-minute thing. And you might find that you're not ready to take responsibility in one area, or you don't realize that you're not taking responsibility in one area. That's totally fine. Do what you can. Just start with one step. And see how you go. So the third step to choosing energy, to empowering ourselves about energy, is to have self-compassion. So like I said, this can be a long journey. If you're really, really exhausted at the moment, it can take a while for your body to heal and to get back to a mental, emotional, and spiritual place where you're solid again. It can take a while. But it's a lifelong journey. Like I said, it's a way of living. It's a decision that we make every day. And it can be hard. So choosing to take responsibility, I mean, that can be really scary. You don't necessarily know what the answers are. You might have felt a lot more safe to say, I can blame that other thing. I don't have to look inside at myself at those wounds, at those really scary, painful places. Okay, so it can be hard. Hard things can come up through this process. But having self-compassion allows us to move through that. So what I mean by self-compassion is being kind to yourself. There is a reason why you're not experiencing the level of energy that you want to experience. And so to move into that place of having that energy, you're going to quite possibly confront those reasons. And you might not like the look of them. So have compassion on yourself. It's not that you're not a failure in any way. You're very much in good company with all of the rest of us. So how you do this, how you start to have compassion on yourself, I talk about this a little bit in my free ebook. So if you want to go onto my website and sign up for that, you can have it for free. But just remember that just because you have a thought in your mind, that doesn't make it true. And you don't have to believe it. And oftentimes for myself, when I've dug into the layers and I kind of have distanced myself from what my mind is telling me, and I've gone, oh, that's interesting. Oh, and kind of had this curiosity about what's going on in my head and just going, oh, that seems an illogical thing to say, Kirsty. Why do you say that? And digging and and why is that? And the thought pattern might be something quite mean, or it might be saying, oh, you're not worthy of this, or you don't deserve it, and all these awful things that your mind tells you. Oh, right, why is that? And often for me, I've got down to this place and I've found a wounded child. I've found a hurt from previously in my life. And it's taken on a mean voice, but actually it's just trying to get my attention, and it's trying to keep me safe and keep me from making the same mistakes again. So when I've seen that, I can give that inner child a hug and say, it's okay. And I can also say, well, hey, inner child, guess what? I'm an adult now, and I see you, and I recognize the fear, and I recognize what's going on for you, but I choose to do this for myself because I'm driven by that desire. I know it can be better, and I'm going to own this and create the life of my dreams. So, to recap, we had step 1 was getting clarity around how you want to feel. Step 2 was to own what you want and stop being a victim to external circumstances when it comes to your energy levels. And step 3, have self-compassion, because you will be in this for the long haul. So, give it a go. See how that fits in with your life, whether it resonates. Leave me a comment, let me know how you go. And join me for the next video, where I will be discussing how to plug out energy leaks. So all the places where we feel drained, and I'll give you a great metaphor to start thinking about it. See you then. Bye.